The most important thing that you can do to get better at defense in Madden is to learn how to switch stick. Switch stick is the most important defensive feature that they've ever introduced into the game. And we're going to be breaking down how you can improve your switch stick with several tips in this video. And we're also going to show you kind of, what I think is the best overarching meta strategy in which you can utilize a switch stick methodology. So real quick here, I'm going to go into my settings. I just wanted to show you one of the most important things here. In your settings, you want to make sure that your switch stick delay is either on slight or none. Those are the only two settings that should be utilized. If you put it on moderate or disabled altogether, then you're literally wasting, again, one of the most, I think, the biggest defensive feature they've ever put into the game. So you want this on slight. The reason, if you're a beginner player, I recommend slight, because sometimes what can happen is if you have it on none, you could instantly switch stick when the ball is snapped. And by having it on slight, it'll give you just a little bit of a buffer. But I personally prefer to play on none. Now, let's talk about kind of the overarching meta strategy by which we've seen, at least for the last 2 years, a switch stick optimized defense, kind of what it looks like or how it really realistically functions. Last year's game, you really saw Dollar was the clear-cut meta defense. And in this year's game, I think you're going to see that a variation of Dollar, if not Dollar itself, is going to be the meta defense. And the reason why is because these symmetrical formations are so good for switch sticking. And also, in a perfect world, you want to be sending 4. Now, in this year's game, they actually introduced stunning into the game, which is really effective. Now, I'm in the Minnesota Vikings defensive playbook here. If you guys want any of my full offensive or defensive ebooks, everything you need to know to win more games in Madden or college football, join our school community. That link is in the description below. $10 will get you access to literally everything that you need to know to win more games in both college and in Madden. So what they've added into this game is a couple things. Number one, here's some coaching adjustments that are going to help you. Defensive motion response disabled, option read key conservative, pitch key aggressive, read key and pass key conservative. And then you can do really whatever you want with your adjustments here. I really prefer close and pinch and the hooks on 5. Now, generally speaking, there's really 3 types of defenses that you're going to see. You're going to see man-to-man. You're going to see zone. So man-to-man being mid-blitz or cover 1 hole. Zone being just your cover 3 sky. Or you're going to see zone man-to-man or match coverage, like cover 4 quarters, for example. Those are really the 3 main styles of defense that you're going to see. And what we've seen historically is that most switch stick defenses are based out of simple zone coverages, because you kind of will be able to accurately predict and know where everyone is going to be on the field. So you're seeing most likely a zone-based coverage. And then the other big tip, I think, from what we've seen, at least for the last 2 years, generally optimized switch stick defense is going to send 4 people. If you send 6 people, the problem is there's so many holes open in the defense that it's super easy to just simply be able to, kind of attack that. Whereas when you send 4, not only are you going to get decent enough pressure in this game sending 4, but you're also going to have a good amount of field coverage within your defense. So a couple different ways to send 4, and then we'll get into the actual switch stick tips. So first one is the Texas 4-man stunt. If you are if you've been playing Madden or college football, hopefully by now, the Texas 4-man stunt is the best stunt in the game. The way you set it up is you're going to hold down on the button of the play you want to pick. I love Tampa 2. I think that's the best way to play because it gives you a good coverage shell that you can adjust out of. It also gives you the hook zone curls, which are the best hook zones in the game. All right. So the Texas 4-man stunt, all you're going to do is spread your defensive line, and then you can use this mid-read defender. And what you're going to see is that this 4-man stunt is really, really good in this year's game at getting pressure to sending 4. Now, so the next thing that we want to go over is, now that you're able to get pressure sending 4, how do you actually, want to every now and then, send five? So the way that I like to send five out of this is like this right here, and then I'll drop the defensive in out into coverage. So this is our nickel single mug defense. Really, really good defense. One of the other big tips I have for you is I think when you're running a switch stick defense, you want to kind of start out on the same player most of the time. Like if I'm over here, you don't really want to use her like a deep blue at the beginning of the play, generally, with a little bit of an exception. What you want to do, in my opinion, is use her these yellow zones. The reason why is because at the snap of the ball, you don't really have to move. You can pretty much stay in position here. And what you're going to see is I can then switch stick, across the field as opposed to having to move my user. Now, one thing that I forgot to talk about real quick is how to actually perform a switch stick. Now, there are a couple different ways to do it, but really, kind of historically, what you see is that most people are just going to flick their right joystick in the direction that they want to switch. You can switch stick with the D-pad, you can get the paddles, you can do all that stuff. But what we've seen, again, the best players in the world, how do they switch stick? Most of them, if not all of them, they switch stick with their right joystick, and they're going to flick the right joystick in the direction that they want to switch. Couple of other things real quick. I'm going to show you another way you can run this out of this dime 2-3 Sam, kind of similar to dollar. We'll use this as a zone blitz. So what you're able to do here is, you're going to able to create a dollar type of look. But the other thing that I was going to say is you do want your user in a coverage assignment. So you'll see if I blitz my user, there's a couple issues. Number one, you can switch stick with a blitz user. The way that you're going to do that is you're going to hit the D-pad. But the problem with the D-pad is the D-pad is going to, number one, it's going to be a little bit less accurate than the right stick, because the thing about the right stick is you can switch stick down and to the left, up and to the left, directly straight up and to the right. Like you can literally pretty much get onto anybody on the field with, this switch stick right here. So that is one of the biggest things about, using the right stick. And then the other thing is your user, if your user is not in a coverage assignment, when you switch stick off of him, it's going to just leave this massive hole. So as you see here, like while this blitz is great, there's a wide open drag because my user, I basically took my user out of the play. So really important for the most part to put your user on a coverage assignment of some type. It could be a man up, it could be a zone, either way. Okay. Now that leads us into, how to actually strategize around a switch stick. So the biggest thing with switch stick is 100% you're going to be basically making reads as a defensive player as if you were playing offense. So for example, I'm going to put a very standard route combination out of bunch right here. And what you're going to see is I'm going to kind of, at the snap of the ball, I'm going to kind of pull my user into the middle of the field. But what I'm doing is I'm not going to be looking in the middle of the field to see, like, here's how it would go in other Maddens. Like in other Maddens, I would go here, then I try to snap down here, and I would be kind of like, trying to cover the whole middle of the field with my user. Now what you want to do is you want to actually simply almost like stand still, if you will. So you want to be in the middle of the field. You want it to a degree be kind of standing still, or just almost like, I don't know, like kind of hovering in this area as you're looking at the field to see, what receivers you need to switch stick onto. So for example here, in this case, this corner route is really the route that we need to hit. So as I'm kind of letting this play go, I see, oh, they have a corner route. I need to take that with the flat defender. Okay. So what you'll see that I'll do, and I'll actually get into replay here, is at the snap of the ball, this is what most people do. This is what I did as well for a long time. When you're basically using like it's not Madden 26, like you're using like it's Madden, Madden, any Madden before Madden 24, right? So you see here, like I'm just gonna hover in this middle of the field because just by my presence, it's gonna make it hard. But I'm actually not looking at these underneath routes over the middle. What I'm looking at here is I'm looking at the other routes on the field, most notably the corner route to the right side, which as you see, I switch stick onto this flat, and I'm able to play that defender. Okay. Now another big thing about switch stick in general is you want to switch stick and you want to know like what are the weaknesses in the defense. So I talk about it a little bit like this. I think in every switch stick defense, there's going to be a couple of players that you are going to kind of like generally be switch sticking onto. For example, in a cover four based switch stick defense like this, it's really going to be these safeties right here. These are kind of the two players that you want to switch stick onto a lot. So my basic rule of thumb here is, let's say I'm getting a combo like this, for example. The second that I see any receiver from the bunch side run across, I'm gonna switch stick onto this third because that's the whole purpose of him being in there. Because I'm like planning to do that, right? Then what I'm gonna do is if I see, let's say for example, a corner route, I might need to switch stick here, or I might not. I might even need to switch stick to this quarter. So, essentially, I'm using switch stick to take away multiple things. You see here, I see there, and then I can switch stick on that, and I can actually take a couple of routes away really with just one thing. Again, it's important to know where your defense is weak. Where are the holes in your coverage? And cover four hard flat, like what are the holes in cover four hard flat? Generally speaking, it's the corner routes, right? So like if they were in a combo, like this, right? The main thing that we would need to cover would be the corner route here to the right side. So what I like to do is, let's say I get a combo like this. Again, I'm sitting here. I'm going to run these guys like that, and I'm just going to switch stick on like that. So let me just kind of break that down of what actually just happened. So again, switch stick is something that it does take time to like actually develop, but there are some principles and are some rules. And one of them is just knowing where you're weak and knowing where the offensive strength lies. For example, there's always meta route combos. There's always there's always route combinations that people are going to use to exploit defenses, and you need to know how the meta route combinations exploit your defense. So, for example, I know that this stem down corner is going to get open against a cover four based defense. So, if I see that, what I know I need to do here is, as you see here, again, I'm reading the field. I see that number 3 guy goes on a vertical route. So, I immediately switch stick here. Now, this is really important. I'm not even really looking at the tight end. What I'm doing is I'm switch sticking onto the tight end and I'm letting him kind of cover that, but I'm seeing if there's a corner route over there. As you see here, there is a corner route. And so I'm going to switch stick here just because the game kind of puts this guy in my path, but I'm not going to stay on this quarter, right? I'm going to get off of this quarter and then I'm going to switch stick here. And yes, the slot fade could be a touchdown, but that's what we're talking about in terms of like, what are the routes that you actually want to take away? Now, another way to actually do that is if they, give you that combination. And this is why it's important to kind of understand, like, these are the meta route combinations. These are how they're going to attack me. And these are the things that I need to do to stop that. So one of the things that I would want to do here is, let's say we're playing at, coverage like this. What I would do if we're looking back at this a second time is I would be here, I'm switch sticking here, and now I'm going to take this guy and actually run him down onto that corner route. Those were some options of things you could do. Now, ultimately, if they're killing you with corner routes, then I'm going to change my shell ever so slightly, and I'm going to run a cover 3 cloud type of defense. So what are the vulnerabilities now? Because I now have an additional yellow zone, and I also have that outside third going over there. So really, the main vulnerability is going to be that corner route late, or it's going to be this underneath drag route. So I know, again, that I'm weak in the flat area on the right side, but I know that this vert hook is really helpful for stopping zigs. So if the vert hook doesn't play if there's no zig route on the field, then this guy needs to take the drag underneath. Switch stick is basically a way that you can kind of have like essentially read and react zone coverage, right? So as you see here, something like this, well, I'm still going to move this guy over, but now I'm going to actually switch stick down, as you see right there, onto the yellow zone to be able to go down and play that. So, again, it's just so important to know, who are you playing through in your coverage shell? Who, in the real world, they talk about, kind of the joker defenders or who the wild defenders. Another thing you can do that is really, really effective is manning your user up with the intention to switch stick off of your user. This is really good for a formation like a trips tight end. And I think I'm in Jag, so I don't have the best trips tight end. Another thing you'll see from really people that like to switch stick a lot is they will normally do it out of a symmetrical defense, like a dollar or a dime normal. Okay, so you see here we're in a symmetrical defense. Now, here's what we can do. We can do this where we're going to actually man up our user defender on this tight end. Now, the whole purpose of this is because I'm going to switch stick off of my user if that tight end runs a post because my user has inside positioning. So, a practical thing we could do here is we could have a middle third from that safety. We could have a inside quarter there, and then where is this? Again, just kind of going through the rules here, but where is this defense weak, and who are the players, practically speaking, that it makes sense to switch stick onto? It really makes sense to switch stick onto either of these safeties, depending on what they do, or this vertical hook zone. Okay. So a very meta route combination from a trips tight end set. And this is where, again, it comes back to like knowing what is like the meta and knowing, kind of what the actual route combos are, but this would be an example of kind of a pretty meta trips tight end route combination. Okay. With maybe a flat here. So I know that if the slant is coming from this left side, I can't switch onto the vert hook because I need that vert hook to guard the slant. But what I could do is I could switch stick off of my user and onto this inside third. So what you'll see here is I'm just going to stand still, and then I'm going to switch stick onto this middle third, and I'm going to help my user, kind of guard the post route, if you will. And again, on that right side, we could cloud or soft squat, depending on, obviously, what they're wanting to do. So a lot of it is understanding tendencies, but really at its core, a lot of it is just understanding what routes are good. I think that is so underrated. Is you have to have a good awareness, in my opinion, of what are the problem routes that a formation or an offense in general poses. For example, if you go to this doubles flex close, this is a great formation because it poses a lot of challenges in terms of what they actually can do. Now I'll show you a different way to send 4 here. This one will be out of 1-4-6. And you can send 4 like this. It's very similar to the dime 2-3-6. But basically here what we have is we have this doubles set. Okay. Now, when you're running this cover 4 in general, you want this third to be on your user side because you're going to be planning to switch stick onto him. So one of the best routes in the game this year is from this formation. And what it essentially is going to do is it's going to attack with this stem down corner. Okay. This is really, really good. And let me just try to actually set it up. Because as you'll see here, if I run the stem down corner, a lot of times he gets over the top. He just gets the flat defender really struggles to defend. Okay. So what you can do is, again, have a switch stick plan. So one of the easiest ways to stop this is to actually switch stick onto this guy and actually run him outside. So you'll see here, we're going to still have him in the flat zone. This time, instead of a hook curl, I know this formation likes to attack the middle, so I might put my user in a mid read. But again, the whole thing being the same basic principle, which is I am standing in the middle of the field, but I'm not actually really using anything. I'm looking for where to switch to based off the routes they have. So if I was running a play like this, for example, which this is a 100% a meta play, I am, again, pre-snap, I'm anticipating they could run a corner to the right side. Most people in this formation do. So what I would do is I see, corner route, I'm going to switch it there, and then I'm going to come back to that yellow zone to defend that left side. So let me just kind of show you, and again, it's really difficult to show this with 2 controllers, but hopefully you're getting the idea of what we're doing here. So again, I know a vulnerability of this defense is that stem down corner. So I'm kind of watching for that. I see, and again, here, I don't immediately do it. That's a big, big point. I don't immediately do it because if you immediately do it a lot of times without being, consistently accurate, what will happen is inevitably you will switch stick yourself out of position. You can actually switch stick bad a lot more than you can switch stick good. So sometimes you can do more damage than good. Switch stick's an incredibly powerful thing. You don't want to overdo it. Really, really important. So anyways, you'll see here, I'm standing in the middle. I don't move my switch here for just a second. So again, I'm reading. I see, okay, corner route. Okay, I switched it here. Now at this point, what I should do is I need to get back onto this guy so that I can actually defend that post. That is like the whole idea. So again, Switch stick is all about knowing the strengths and weaknesses of the offense, as well as knowing the strengths and weaknesses of the coverage that you're running. So let's talk about another problem route. So that would be something like this Y sail play. The reason this is such a good play is because this corner route on the right side combined with this clear out route. So what you'll see here is, again, how would we want to switch stick to stop this? Well, basically we would be sitting right here, and when we saw the tight end go to the corner, one of the easiest things we can do, we know we can't take this hard flat out of the way because the hard flat has to stop the flat. A lot of people like to switch stick up from hard flats. That is good, but against good players, they'll just take their flat route. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to switch stick to this quarter. So you're going to see I'm going to be sitting here. I'm not moving. I see, oh, the corner goes, and then I can go like that, and then you'll see right there we're able to come back around. So let's just kind of like show, and I might have to actually show that again because I kind of messed up at the end there, but let's just show this one more time. So you'll see that corner. Again, I'm just sitting here. So I'm still playing like my job. I'm doing my job. You have to do this because if you don't just sit here with your user, if you back up or you try to jump something, number one, you won't see what's getting open. And number two, your user will be out of position against a basic drag route. So you see here, we're just kind of like almost freezing. But once I see that tight end go to the corner, I switch stick to this inside quarter. And the reason why is because that outside quarter, as you see here, we're able to play pretty good. So that is like the idea. Okay, let's show that to you one more time. We'll actually do another combo from this that is really good. And again, we're doing this all out of this. Now, when you start to mix in adjusting out of switch sticking, let's talk about that real quick. So now let's talk about like how to adjust out of switch sticks. So one of the best ways to adjust out of switch sticks, as I talked about already, is manning up user. But one of the other ways that's really good is just a basic cover 2 to one side and a cover 6 effectively. So we know that the formation that we're facing right here is really good at attacking, cover 2 to the left side. So what we might want to do is run cover 2 to the right side. So all we would need to do here is we would just shade underneath. We would middle third, we would deep half, and then we could have our yellow zone like this. So when you're in a cloud coverage or cover 6 rotation, if you will, like this, again, the same question applies. Who within the defense are we planning to switch stick onto? What are the weaknesses and strengths? So in this case, the weakness is the right side flat is really the main weakness. The only other weakness is maybe the left side, kind of area over here, which if I wanted to put this guy in this, I could, but in general, let's talk about this play. So if I get a combo right here like this, and again, my user is hovering right in this area, at the snap of the ball, I'm reading and I see that there's no vertical routes to the right side of the field. Well, when I see that there's no vertical routes to the right side of the field, then I know that this guy has no responsibility. So again, this is why it's really important to just sit there post snap for just a second and actually understand what's going on, right? And so you'll see here, snap the ball, and all I have to do is switch right there and just take that away. That's all I have to do is just switch to one player, and you'll see here. So again, I sit here for a second, I realize, oh, there's no vertical routes on the right side, so I can just switch right here. Now, is this technically open? This is why I hate vert hooks in this game. Yes, this is technically open, but for 5 yards. You know what I mean? So generally speaking, what most people are going to have, I think, the most success with is having their user in a mid read or a 3-rec hook or something like that. Okay. And the reason why is because, and this is why I like the 5-yard hooks, because that will guard a drag route. So another great way, we talked about this a little bit, but another great, let's talk about this play real quick. So if they'll say they're doing, maybe a play like this, obviously I know in this formation, the sharp cutting post route is really good from this. So what I might do is man this guy up to that backside for that short cutting post. And then I also know that when I have this guy manned up like this, there's some other things that could, be options in terms of how we might want to cover. For example, we might want to do a cover two here to this left side. Now, what's the vulnerability? There's no yellow zone to the right side. Or we could go back and kind of do this again where we have it like this. Now, the beauty of this is I'm pretty much 100% anticipating, because if you think about this formation, you either have this route right here to square, or you have the Y cell play where he's on an in route, or you have this motion angle wheel where this outside player is on a drag. Like every single play that every single pretty much combo that they're going to run, unless he runs just a basic fade, he's going to be on an in breaking route. So I know that. So again, if I'm using here, I can stand in the middle of the field and actually take away the tight end streak and the drag route, and my coverage is going to do just fine at taking everything else away, and I can just let this crossman work. So again, snap the ball, you're going to see I'm going to stand right here, and then we're just pretty much good, and you see that man up does a good job of taking that away. Now, what I would like to do in a perfect world, that's why I don't like adjusting. This is why I prefer the Tampa 2 stuff, because watch this vert hook. Again, I put my hooks on 5. Watch the vert hook. Who the heck's he guarding? You know what I mean? But whatever. Anyway, so what do we see here in terms of how this plays? So what we see is my user is just sitting here, right? Just sitting here. We could obviously take that drag for just a split second. But once I recognize the route combo, I know that slot fade can't beat me. I know that tight end streak might be open, but really not that open. The only place I need to switch is to that underneath drag, and then I'm switching off of that linebacker, and he's going to cross man onto that defender. Another player that this is really, really good. Let's talk about like a bunch. Let's talk about a formation like this. I think I'm in. Let's talk about like this one, like Wild Trio Close. So again, very, very popular formation. And one of the most popular plays would be something like this. So if I'm defending this, what I can do really, really easily is I can man my user up to, again, the problem routes, which the problem routes here would be the running back. So, we just play a basic cover 4, but we have our user man up to the running back. Now, the reason why I'm okay with this is because I know that if the running back does not go on a route because they have to block, then I can effectively, this guy will actually just be kind of essentially a yellow zone over the middle of the field. But if the running back goes on a route, then I can switch stick onto, really either one of these guys, depending on what the routes are on the field. So you'll see right here, in this case, we get a Durham setup. Well, I already know, and again, this is why it's so important. You just sit right here. You don't go crazy. You just sit right here. But what you see is, I'm going to sit here. We defended fine. I see the running back, and now I can just switch stick onto the right guy to take away the crosser. Now, is the tight end drag open for a small gain? Yes, it is open right there, just instantly. But you would literally have to throw that right off rip, and I just, I'm willing to live with that. But this, again, just by my user being right in that little pocket, I'm able to play that, and then I'm able just to switch stick right off onto the crosser and take away this play, which again, this is one of the most effective route combos in the game. And then my zone is able to defend there on that right side. So that is, those are some of the different strategies that I would use when we're talking about switch stick, when we're talking about, how to switch stick against different meta formations that, you might face. For example, this Y off trips is this is another one. A lot of people love this combo right here. Ultimately, also, this is why you see the Sim 4 blitzes. If I could force you to block a running back and I'm sending 4, I feel really good about my ability to cover 3 routes. Because another big tip with switch stick is it's really designed to stop like crossers, corners, and post routes. Those are the main routes that switch stick is designed to stop, especially out of a cover 4. So if I'm in a basic defense like this, the main issue is really, and you'll see it right here, if I just sit here, I know I have to switch stick onto the tight end. So you see I just sit here, I switch stick onto the tight end. And for the most part, we played okay, but the problem is that delay route over the middle of the field. And so that's where you'll see, and I'll show this again, this is where it's kind of using your user as a man up is helpful, because you see here, like I played pretty good. I played that. But what you could also have done is you could switch back. You could basically bait that throw. So I'll show you how to do that. So another little technique that you can use is once you switch onto something, a lot of times their eyes are gonna bounce off of the route, and then you need to go get their next read. So, for example, when I teach offense, I'm like, your first, like on this play, your first read is the fade. Then you're gonna read the post. Then you're gonna read the drag, and then you're gonna read the little delay route, right? So I know that. So from a coverage perspective here, we're playing a defense like this. So I know I got to take the first read's going to be taken away, but the second read, I got to guard with my switch stick. But then they're going to eventually, they're going to get off of that read, okay? Because their eyes are going to bounce off. So what you can do is you can do something like this where you're going to be here, you switch stick there, and then you switch stick back to your yellow zone to take that away. And you force them to have to throw that post route late. This obviously all works well, especially if your blitz comes in at the right time. So in general, those are, in my opinion, some of the best tips for improving your switch stick in Madden 26, College Football 26. Hopefully, this will apply for years to come. Quick recap: one of the biggest things is understanding that you don't want to be looking necessarily at your user. You want to be trying to find and identify what is the high-low concept, what is the passing concept, what is the primary route, what are the power routes. Like you're basically making reads on defense as if you are playing offense. Then you also want to plan for when you switch stick off of your user, where do you want your user to go? And you want that user to have some level of usefulness. You want him to man up on somebody. You want him to you want him to do something, right, that is intentional, that is designed to be able to make him an effective defender within the defense that you're running. And then again, I think the biggest one is you've got to know your strengths and weaknesses of your defense. You've got to know, I think, to a degree, your strengths and weaknesses of your offense. For example, is like this side over here is really, really good at attacking. This left side is really, really good, but in general, if you really think about it, you could kind of get away with playing maybe a cover 3 cloud like this. And so you want to understand, like, okay, yes, there are things that can beat that, but in general, this gives me my best bet, maybe like a man up right here, and now I'm playing really good. But what's the vulnerability? Well, the vulnerability is this left side flat. So maybe I want to put my user on a flat, or maybe I want to man my user up on the tight end. And then if I see, the tight end go on a drag, then what I can do is I can switch. I know that there's nobody attacking this area, so I can switch stick here. So, it might be something like this, and then I switch stick here and take this away. So typically you're going to be planning probably to switch 1 to 2 times. Most of the time, you're not going to switch more than 1 to 2 times. So you want to practice being patient with your switch stick. You certainly can overdo it. There are some players that can switch stick, 10 times, which if you're one of those guys, more power to you. But I think in general, most people probably plan to switch stick 1, 2, maybe 3 times at the most within most plays. And that is helpful because you're going to actually want to make sure that you're being accurate with your switch stick, which is really more about, in terms of like, I think it's just more about being patient in general. Like we're talking about a route combo, again, this is a popular route combo here, but if I just sit right here, I can just, be able to defend a lot of things with very, very simple defenses. So know the strengths and weaknesses of their offense, your defense, know your user responsibility, right? Where do you have to be? Know what your user is going to do once you switch stick off of them and what that's going to actually cover. Is that actually going to, where is that actually going to be helpful? And then I think in general, like know what the problem routes are. Every formation, every year, there are specific routes that people are going to build offenses around. Switch stick is designed to help you typically take away those second level throws like crossers, corners, and posts. And so you can use switch stick to take away the problem routes and force people to have to drive up and down the field and have to score in the red zone. So those are tips and tricks for how to switch stick, how to improve your switch stick. If you enjoyed this type of video, let me know. I'd love to talk more about this, maybe do this video again a different way. And then also, if you're looking to take your Madden game to the next level, Join our school community. That link to sign up is going to be in the description. It'll get you access to everything you need to know to win more games in Madden and in college football.